Morning. I am Reverend Claire Middelton from the Center for Spiritual Living Colors here in Charlotte, North Carolina, onecolors.org. And so, welcome this morning. I have been contemplating just what we're going to talk about today and decided that faith is what we're going to talk about. Faith is a word that gets thrown around quite a bit, and so I wanted to kind of address what we mean by faith and where faith shows up in our lives. You know, whether we realize it or not, we practice faith all the time. Sometimes we have faith that things are not going to work, and we have these major conversations on, I know this is going to happen and that's going to happen, and we really haven't experienced it yet. But we are allowing ourselves to go down that road, picture what's going to happen, feel the pain of it and the fear of it. If I haven't said this to you before, there really are only two emotions in life. One is fear and the other is love. And we can put a lot of energy in the idea of fear. And we're afraid of something that hasn't happened yet. And that's faith. That's putting faith in something negative that hasn't shown up. But we're absolutely sure it's going to happen. And we're absolutely sure to the extent that we feel it physically. And you can feel your heart change and your blood pressure change. All of that. You're so sure that this negative thing is going to happen. But what's real interesting is that the flip side of that is faith in the good. Seeing the good that hasn't happened yet. And what I think is so interesting is that it's so challenging for us to come up with that same kind of energy when we're afraid as when we're looking for the good. And that's what I challenge you with. Faith is a belief in something that has not shown up yet, but you're sure it's there, and you begin to act as if it is there. You literally start taking steps in the direction of this particular idea that you have in mind. Now, the idea you have in mind is key. Oftentimes we talk about faith and having the faith in something that only you can see and you act as if you have it. But one of the things I want to throw in here is, what are you seeing? What are you able to see? And what I know is that unless we broaden our horizons and we step into some arenas that we're not really familiar with, what we see is the same thing we've always seen. And you literally are putting that into your mind, to put into the mind of God, to show back up as your experience. So when we're talking about really stepping out on faith, we need some homework here. That means you need to step out of the comfort zone that you normally are in. You might need to go to some areas that have homes that are finer than what you're used to. You know, they have open houses, and when you see the sign, you may want to step into that and go in a house that looks different from yours and a neighborhood that looks different from yours as you begin to practice the faith of having a new home. Have a new picture of that home. You may want to move on to school, and the people that you're around have gone to local schools, and so you may want to venture out beyond your state and beyond the areas that your friends are going into. So what it really requires is you stepping into some new ideas and some new thoughts and the way things are differently from what you're normally comfortable with. And basically I'm saying, you got to step into an uncomfortable zone. You got to step into some of the stores that you feel like, why am I in here? I don't have enough money for this. But you see, you're going to step into that vibration. And as you continue to step into that vibration, the discomfort starts to fall away. It feels a little bit more familiar. So as you step out of the fast food place and you step into the restaurant where you have the waiters coming and treating you like royalty, you can get used to that, trust me. You just have to do it several times, and then you start feeling comfortable with it. So part of this faith thing for me is allowing myself to experience new ideas, new places, new arenas, and doing it to the point where I feel comfortable in it. You know, I believe we've talked about vibration, and every place we go in has its own vibration. Where you are right now has its own vibration. You vibrate at that level. You're comfortable with it. But if we're talking about experiencing something greater in our lives and having the faith that it can come to us, then we must step forward into a different vibration. The place where a scooter lives and the place where a Lexus lives, two different arenas, two different fields. So you have to be willing to move from the scooter level into the Lexus level and do it enough that it feels like this is where I should be. It's comfortable. So part of this process of faith and growth into something new is a willingness to do your work. And that work is sometimes taking you into places that you've never been before. And if you can't get on the plane and go, guess what? You can go get a film that has that particular place and you can envision it. See, there's something that God has given us that is so awesome, and that's imagination. And we use it all the time. We just don't always funnel it in the direction we want to. So what I'm proposing is that you are using your imagination to put yourself into a new arena. And you're using your imagination to bring in all your senses. You can smell it, you can hear it, you can taste it, you can feel it. And you begin to see yourself moving in a whole different place. So part of that is work. It's not just sitting back and saying, I am this and I am that. It's allowing yourself to really feel it. And it may take some work on your part to begin to feel it. It may take you going, and if your friends don't want to join you, you may have to go alone into some of the newer restaurants and go into some of the neighborhoods. Go visit some of the colleges. Go visit the kind of home that you would like to be in. And if you have people around you that can't support that, they can't see it, then you do need to do that by yourself. You know, it's real interesting that when we look at our friends, we can pretty much see where we are. Because when we sit together and we share, the things that we share are things that we have in common. And so if we want to move forward in life, we have to have the willingness to move from what's comfortable and some of the people that we may be comfortable with to move into a place where we might feel at first out of place. And as we continue to visit it, it starts feeling more and more like us. The vibration of it becomes more comfortable. So part of this process of faith, for me, also involves a mental equivalent of what it is I'm choosing to experience. We do it sometimes. If we're looking for a home, we'll go from place to place, and we step in it, and we feel whether it feels good or not. But if you want to elevate yourself, then you're going to have to move into a whole different kind of neighborhood. So part of this process of faith is a willingness to lay out the map of the mental equivalent. And then as we begin to do our prayer work, we begin to use our imagination. We can feel ourselves moving into something new. You know, I like to look at children. I think one of the most powerful statements in the Bible is, "Come ye like a child." And what I love about children is that they decide what they want, they voice it, and they don't care how you get it, but they want what they want. And they begin to play as if they have it. Can you see this little boy who wants a blue bike? And he's in his room and he's practicing riding on his bike. And you walk by and say, so what does he do? He is on his bike. And guess what? Before you know it, the bike is there. He has faith. He's acting as if he already has it. It's no different from us. as we step into this new idea and we step into it with an attitude that nobody can change what I know about this particular thing, just as like this little boy with the bike, before you know it, you have it. So for me, faith is really identifying what I'm choosing, allowing myself to feel the vibration of it, speaking from it, feeling it, and taking time on a daily basis to visit it and be it. And before you know it, I am it. That's the truth. We are absolutely never limited in terms of what we can experience. I had somebody say to me recently, well, what about the people who were born da-da-da-da-da? They too are born with an imagination. Everybody is. They too can imagine themselves out into something else. And I don't have the time to list all of the people who started in quote-unquote poverty and moved themselves into an entirely different experience on this planet. What I know about God is that it's all available to each of us, but it's up to us as to whether we utilize it or not. So this idea of faith really is you choosing an experience, you living from that experience, speaking from that experience, and it doesn't matter whether anybody else can see it. What matters is that you do. And if you take that same kind of focus and energy like I started out with in terms of fear, and you bring it to something in terms of love, the love of what it is that you're choosing to experience with the same focus, and that focus when we have fear is nobody can tell you anything. When you have that same focus for what it is that you're choosing to step into, I want to tell you something. There is absolutely nothing that can stop it. Because what you are doing is you are utilizing a law. You are stepping into the law of mind. And that law will follow through as long as you maintain your focus on what it is that you choose to experience. So make faith a spiritual practice for yourself. Decide what you want. Begin to feel where it lives. Live in it. Speak from it. And before you know it, you are it and it is you. That's the truth. And so it is.